Hi everyone, I'm back at my virtual teaching desk like many of us have been this year, and I received a question the other day that I really wanted to respond to in a much bigger way, so I thought I would put this video together and hopefully it will be helpful for everyone to get this answer. It's all around rewards. And when I put the video out just recently about is it really sugar-coated control that we're trying to get kids to do what we want them to do through rewards, and I'm not a huge fan. I think there's a place for them, but I think that sometimes we overuse them. But I'm thinking about virtual learning and how are we going to be prepared and ready for going back to school, either a hybrid of virtual, in-person, or all virtual, no one knows. But as we've gone through this process, I was thinking about and doing some more research around it. We can't really give you a lot of points and send you to the prize box, have a big assembly and do some drawings. We can't really promise you a pizza party on Friday. And so what do we do when we're teaching virtually and trying to keep kids motivated? So when you think about motivation, the first thing that came to mind was, well, we got to teach perseverance. You know, you've got to teach perseverance. Persevere, go through. It doesn't need to be a reward. Well, that's great if you're really into the gig. But what if you're those kids that weren't really motivated by a lot of internal stuff for school anyway, and now it's virtual. And virtual doesn't really have the same excitement that we can give you in the classroom. So here's my thoughts. Research suggests that there's a 40 to 60% dropout rate, if you will, with online learning because of that lack of internal motivation. That's a lot, and that's just in general. So depending upon the kids that we had who struggled prior to coming to school, we can kind of guess some of those kids that we may have not seen the entire year since we've been teaching virtually. So again, my first thought was let's really hammer the perseverance, but then in doing more research, really what it comes down to, once again, is self-regulation. Now, I've done some videos earlier on this time of year when we talked about self-regulation and dysregulation for kids for serious emotional types of things going on and helping them to cope with those skills or those lack of skills. But now I'm thinking of it kind of broader. Self-regulation is really defined as the ability to organize one's emotions and behavior and thoughts in pursuit of attaining a long-term goal. Organize one's emotions and behavior and thoughts in pursuit of attaining a long-term goal. So if you break that down and think about virtual learning, what we're really saying is that we have to go through a process of teaching kind of forethought, or what do we want the outcome to be. So for me to be really regulated enough to sustain my attention without some sort of external reward when it comes to virtual learning, I have to have in my mind, what am I going to get out of this? What's the outcome? That's the forethought piece. So if we broke that down and we taught that to kids, that should be the first thing. What are you guys going to get from this? How is this going to affect you? Kind of give them something to think about while they're learning. And the second part, of course, is that performance. How are we actually doing during the learning? And then the third part I think about is reflection. Being able to self-evaluate, which is, I always say we should have morning circle and reflection circle when it comes to goals in our classroom. But I think it's even more important when we do this virtually. We've got to start teaching that self-regulation piece through forethought. What is the outcome going to be? How are we performing self-checking during the lesson? And then be able to have reflection time. How did that work for us? And really get kids to start self-evaluating, because that's all part of self-regulation. So those are some of the thoughts I wanted to share with you today around what do we do in replace of the management methods that we often use, which are connected to external rewards. We have to do a little more intervention. So teach you those skills around that real solid self-regulation, which is all about organizing your thoughts, emotions, behaviors to attain a long-term goal. Because the learner has to have a belief that they can succeed in what's happening. And without that belief, you have a difficult time persevering. So I'll give you in today with just a little message. I took a webinar this week, and on the beginning of the webinar, it was really interesting. It was good content. It promised me a reward. It said, For those of you who do not sign out through the entire 45 minutes of this webinar, which to me was an eternity with my attentional skills, you will get a reward in the end. And it had a nice little flash on the PowerPoint, and it had a wrapped up package and bow and everything. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, what are they going to give me? This is going to be something good. I didn't make it through the 45 minutes. So for some reason, I had not set my goals out as to what I wanted to get from this webinar. I was not regulated enough to gain the internal motivation I needed. And therefore, when I reflect on that, I realized that I didn't really know what I was going to do with this webinar in the first place. So that little package with the bow on it didn't really help. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. I speak and consult on school behavior, and I love to help districts solve some of these problems. See you next time.